It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of January 21st, 2005. Only two movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Ice Cube and the family comedy, Are We There Yet? That only shows you some of the weirdness of this movie, because trust me, it gets weirder. Like, Ice Cube has this talking bobblehead voiced by Tracy Morgan and ends up becoming a part of the movie, and like a supporting character too. Like, never explain why. It's just there. And yeah, this is we thought Vin Diesel pussified himself down in 2005. He was not the only one. This is actually the first family film Ice Cube ever did, and I guess it worked out for him because it was a hit. But then again, if you have no family films out in January, and you know people are over the Christmas movies that came out, of course this is going to make a ton of money. I mean, Paul Blart Mall Cop made money around this time of the year, 4 years from now. But in this movie, you have Ice Cube playing Nick Persons, a selfish player who owns a collectible sports shop in Portland. Everything in his life is perfect until he meets Suzanne Kingston, played by Nia Long, who's a businesswoman who has something he hates: children, Lindsay and Kevin. They become friends and share good moments with each other, but his peaceful life gets altered when she asks him to drive Lindsay and Kevin to Vancouver. After they miss a plane and train, they drive. Unfortunately, Lindsay, and Kevin hate Nick, and he has to try to make it to Vancouver, unaware of the terror and torture he's in for. So yeah, generic kids movie stuff you've seen over and over again. Directed by Brian Levant, who gave us the Flintstones, Jingle All the Way, and Snow Dogs. And believe it or not, Snow Dogs was actually a stupid movie, but a fun stupid movie on its own, is in more ways than you would think. And this is where I think the real downfall begins for him, because he never made a great movie after this again. He made two really bad Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies. He did the same thing with Jackie Chan for The Spy Next Door. Gave us the infamously bad Christmas Story 2. Yeah. Needless to say, his downfall begins at this point going forward. And yeah, this was a hit, and it actually did eventually turn into a franchise where that deer you see in the trailer became, I guess, like the mascot character of the movie, because he shows up again in the sequel, which is kind of pointless when you really think about it. And it did lead to a TBS series, which really does not have a whole lot to do with the movie in general. And I mean, yeah, it's basically the same characters from the movie, except they're played by completely different actors. And Ice Cube very rarely shows up in the show as another character altogether. But it was around that. It's in that same category of something like The House of Pain, like the Tyler Perry shows that TBS had at the time. So yeah, I mean, it did have a decent run overall. I think it ran for like a couple seasons, 3 seasons. So I mean, yeah, you got to give it credit for that. But other than that, though, the movie is pretty lazy. The movie is pretty lackluster. And, you know, it just gets to a point where it's just really generic. The jokes aren't really all that funny. They're not landing as much as they should. They have these random subplots that don't really add a whole lot to anything. There's a weird subplot that gets added in by the end of the movie where they're kidnapped by a trucker that they called because they thought that they tried to make it seem like that Ice Cube's character was kidnapping them, and it's all of a sudden becomes a third act, a subplot in the third act, which really does not go anywhere of noteworthiness or importance, and it just feels absolutely unnecessary to the film in general. But then again, the whole movie feels like it's very unnecessary. The jokes are, like I said, typical kids movie fare. There's really nothing about the film in general that makes it worth it in the long run, and it's just not a fun movie, man. I've tried to watch this movie again to see if I can find anything of noteworthiness to it, and really, there's really not much there. I mean, it's a film that you take it, you see what it is, you know what you're going to get, and really, it doesn't really deliver as much as you think it's going to. It's a movie that tries to throw in the topical, not even jokes, like topical things. Like, there's one scene in the beginning of the movie where Ice Cube's character is just like, we ain't got no Digimon, no Pokemon, no SpongeBob. Like, he's naming everything that's popular at that time, and yeah, because that's what a good movie does. Instantly dates itself before it even comes out. I mean, like Digimon wasn't even that popular in 2005 anymore. That show had ended years ago. But yeah, you get my point I'm trying to make here. The movie isn't that great. It's a really lackluster film, but there was nothing else for the kids in January, so of course they went to go see it, and of course they made a sequel to it, which Surprisingly, it's not even based off of it's actually based off of a failed remake they tried to do for another movie, but we'll eventually get to that one when we get to 2007 with Are We Done Yet? But yeah, Are We There Yet? Took advantage of a lackluster family film marketplace, and it reaped the benefits of it, and probably not for the best, but hey, Brian Levant's got another hit in January, so give him that. But was it worth selling your soul for that, dude? Like, honestly, because what have you done after that? Nothing of noteworthiness. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie here, and that is the remake of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13, starring Ethan Hawke and Lawrence Fishburne. The story takes place on New Year's Eve inside a police station that's about to close for good, and you have an officer, Jake Ronick, played by Ethan Hawke, who has to cobble together a force made up of cops and criminals to save themselves from a mob looking to kill mobster Marion Bishop, played by Lawrence Fishburne. As I said, this is based off the 1976 movie by John Carpenter. This is actually written by James DeMonaco, who you would later know as the guy who made the Purge movies. The director of this is Jean-Francois Richet, whose only noteworthy thing he's done after this was last year's Plane, and everyone remembers how great that movie was. I digress. But in addition to Hawke and Fishburne, you got John Leguizamo, Maria Bello, Ja Rule, Dre De Matteo, Brian Dennehy, Gabriel Byrne. And, I'll give it this. It's a little bit better than I thought it was, but that doesn't mean... I don't think it makes it a great film overall. I just think that, okay, it's a decent modernized version of the original John Carpenter film. Is it going to do anything to elevate this over the John Carpenter movie? No, the John Carpenter movie is always going to be the better film. But I'll give it this. It does a pretty good job of modernizing the story in general and makes it still kind of fun in general as a B movie. And yeah, it's going to have that caveat of being compared to the original film. But yeah, like I said, there's nothing really that bad about it in general. At times it can be very formulaic, but for the most part, it's a decently fun movie. Some of the action sequences are actually kind of cool. I like the main cast in general. The cast overall seems like they're having a very good time with the film, and it delivers everything it promises. I think it's a fun film overall. I'm probably going to... I mean, I wouldn't say it's a great movie in general, but I get say it's a lot better than I had any intentions of it going into it. I really wasn't expecting a whole lot from it, mostly because it's a Rogue Pictures movie. Most of their movies in general were not that great. They would have those few exceptions here and there, but I'll say this. This is one of those ones where I think they got it right for the most part. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a good remake? Not really, but it's a fun action movie when it needs to be, and I think it delivers just enough to recommend it for a one-time watch. If you watch it one time, I think you get enjoyment out of it, but nothing will ever top the 76 version, honestly. I mean, you can't really top what John Carpenter did, honestly, which, then again, you can't really do that with a lot of his movies, but I digress. So that is Assault on Precinct 13. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll go ahead and wrap up January with 4 movies, including Robert De Niro and Dakota Fanning in the psychological thriller Hide and Seek, Uwe Boll's infamous Alone in the Dark, another bad video game adaptation from him. We'll take a look at James Cameron's latest Disney documentary, Aliens of the Deep, and we'll also take a look at Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull as part of its 25th anniversary. It was re-released in theaters this weekend. Classic movie, but I'll definitely go ahead and give you my thoughts on that film. So be on the lookout for that coming up tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.